Welcome to the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast.
Hi, I'm David Manti, and welcome to a new episode of the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast. With me this week is Shane Breen, CEO of Silly Nice. Thank you very much for joining me today, Shane.
Great to meet you. Thank you for having me.
Before we get started, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@cannabisequipmentnews.com with email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. Shane, I always like to start the conversation with a little bit of background. So what was it that brought you to the cannabis industry?
So we've been in the business, media business for 16 years, running a lifestyle magazine and agency. And what got us in the cannabis industry was we were introduced to a client that we were tasked with taking from legacy to legal.
Okay.
That's what got us in.
Really? So how did you get into the lifestyle publishing industry?
Oh, man. My spouse, who's a singer-songwriter, back in the early 2000s, was getting featured a lot on YouTube and MySpace and iMeme, and they all started to disappear. You know, MySpace got bought out, iMeme got bought out, and then one day YouTube canceled his YouTube page, and so he said, "We're not putting any more time into any other platforms to grow his fan base." So we started Stupid Dope and decided we want bring the brands to us.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about when you jumped into cannabis. What was it like those first couple of days?
Well, for us, we were dealing with a guy that owned 14 weed trucks around New York City. And so we were originally told about this through our previous business partners who spent time in prison with this guy and supposedly was in jail for 20 years for weed. So we're big prison reform advocates, and basically we were tasked with. So the first couple of days was crazy. We basically were when we first started working with him, we asked him to ship us a box of everything that was on his truck so that we can analyze it because we were big smokers, and we decided we'd take him on because we knew that there was some stuff that we could do. And so we were really good at PR and marketing and advertising and all of that type of stuff. So the first couple of months we were super excited because it was exciting. This guy had trucks all over the city, and when we first came on, the city of New York had confiscated them all, and so right around that same time when that happened, they moved us up here, and we launched them a delivery service. And so, it's pretty crazy.
So are you living in New York now?
Oh, yeah. I live right in center Harlem.
Okay. So who was this client that you were working with?
So his name's Craig Sweat. It's Keith Sweat's cousin, the R&B singer.
Oh, wow. I mean, and how did that relationship come to be? Just a mutual acquaintance?
So our business partners at the time, Biggs Burke, the guy that started Rockefeller Records with Jay-Z, and his business partner, Chip Scouron, who they did 5 years in prison together. Biggs for weed and Chip for massive financial fraud on Wall Street. We brought them and they bought half of our company out. And anyway, they did like 5 years in prison. And Craig was one of their bunkies.
Okay.
And Craig was also a childhood friend of Biggs, so there was history there, right? So, he was supposedly making $700,000 a week on the streets of New York.
Oh, wow.
And, they had just legalized it, right? So everybody was trying to quickly flip.
Mm-hmm.
And they know our skill levels. So we were tasked with blowing him up and getting him legal.
So how did you go about getting him legal and, helping him blow up?
Well, we do PR, so we reached out, to our contacts, and we got him in Rolling Stone, and we had actually 3 times in Rolling Stone and High Times. They did a feature on him, got him in the New York Post and in the Forbes, Fortune. We had the Royal College of UK come over and shoot a documentary, which got put into Tribeca.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So obviously you were holding up your end of the bargain. At what point did you realize that your partner might not be holding up their end of the bargain?
So there was tons of red flags for us, but our business partners kept saying, "Keep your head down, keep going." You know, he spent 20 years in prison, and you know, there's some things there, but we had invested money, and we were now 50% owners, so it was in our best interest to just keep it going and get it you know, over the finish line for being legal, so that we could start to make money on it.
What were some of those red flags?
Um, well, he didn't really do anything, but just run his mouth and talk. There was no action. There was no. We never saw any of the money that was made from the delivery service. It all went to we still don't know. There was a lot of money made.
So even though you were 50% partners, you didn't have access to the financials or anything like that?
No, no, we didn't have access to any of that. No, and it was we all we had was our original agreement. We didn't. Our original agreement was an agency consulting agreement. We weren't going to actually put anything on paper until he was legal because we didn't
Okay.
want to be involved in an illegal like enterprise.
So were you a 50% partner of the legal enterprise?
Yeah, we should be.
Okay. What do you mean we should be?
Well, there's a lot to the story.
Tell me
So, you
about
know,
it.
after we've worked for, you know, a year, invested and a year and a half and moved up here, and we introduced him to Omnium Canna, which was the first Asian processor for New York. They were actually the face of legal cannabis for Hotchell's big New York push for legal cannabis here in the state. We connected him with Omnium Canna and Omnium Canna sign, and then we did this big thing. He was supposed to be the first black brand in New York, and he couldn't raise any money because he'd spent all of ours, and basically, you know, Omnium was building up their facility out in Long Island, and there were no dispensaries open yet, so we were still trying to develop the packaging and the products and all of that type of stuff. And so, um, you know, we got him his legal deal that way. So he was able to do a white label deal. And then we got hit with a cease and desist letter.
I imagine that kind of blindsided you. Why were you hit with that letter?
Well, because we're out pushing the Uncle Bud brand, and this guy was not the actual owner. We found out he was a fired employee that got caught stealing.
Wait.
Yeah.
So,
His whole story was totally fake. He was just an employee of a place that got fired, and he was salty, so he wanted to continue on and try to basically weaponize us to steal this business from who we thought was someone that was trying to steal from him. We were told that the other guy had stole millions of dollars from him. Just none of it was true.
so who was telling the story? Was Craig Sweat telling the story?
Yeah, Craig Sweat was telling us the whole story, but we actually found out the real story from the actual owner when we got the cease and desist. So Craig had signed up an agency agreement using someone else's company that he worked for, right?
Okay.
Took
And
an investment.
was that the Uncle Bud brand?
Yeah, it was Uncle Bud LLC, which was actually the green truck, and the Uncle Bud products are in the truck,
Okay.
right?
Right. And so he signed this deal for Uncle Bud LLC with you, even though he was fired from Uncle Bud,
Yeah,
another company. So you guys bought into 50% of a fake company?
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
We
goodness.
bought it 50% into a company that wasn't his.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Like, as all of this is unraveling, like, what is the timeline? So when is all this happening?
This is all within a year and a half, but it all came crashing down at the end when we found out that he wasn't the actual owner. So then we had to confront him and be like, listen, you know, you owe us a lot of money. We're living in your place, right? We took a 50% cut on our agency rates because he was covering our living expenses. You know, he moved up here to hustle and get him into a spot where he'd be making, you know, a lot of money. And I mean, we were left literally broke, penniless, living in this guy's house. Never got any money. I mean, there's a whole bunch more to the story too. the actual the actual processor also put us to work and never paid us. They owe us $233,000. And
So
then,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I could go on and on.
No, let's go. I mean, I mean, that's what the whole purpose of this format, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to. I'm trying to unravel it. So how were you able to get all of these placements in Rolling Stone, and all
Great
these other pub?
story. It was a great story. The guy spent 20 years in prison for weed, and he's built this huge enterprise in New York, right? And
Yeah,
it's a great story. The police would come and they wouldn't do anything, or then they'd confiscate it and they'd give it back. And it was a great story. The guy's making a ton of money, but none of the actual person that was making the money wasn't him. It wasn't, none of it was his. So, the media outlets are interested because, they've legalized weed and there's no dispensaries open and there's 8,000 illegal dispensaries, and this guy's the most visible, right?
right. But okay, so let's go back to the beginning. So he approaches you, with the deal to start promoting this new company, Uncle Bud. And is he trying to promote this as his own company, or is he doing it for this other company that he was fired from? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No, so we were when we first came in, we didn't know about any of the drama, right?
Right.
We just knew that Craig was making a ton of money and it was all his enterprise, right? And once we got in, he started telling us that there was this guy named Igor that was trying to steal the business from him, right? And so we registered the company, a new company, as Uncle Bud NYC LLC. We registered his trademark, but Igor already had all that done, and we were just told that he stole it from him, right? And he had stolen from all this money, and so he was playing the victim. So, we're trying to fix it for him, keep him making money, launch his thing, and get him legal.
Right. So I mean, does he not think that, I mean, obviously with all these, with registering all these companies, is it, is there no thought going into that? Obviously there'll be a paper trail that Igor's done it first.
I guess he probably didn't think of it. I don't know. Thought that maybe we could argue out of it. I have no idea.
Okay.
That would be a
So,
question for him and his.
okay. So, Igor fires Craig. Craig starts his own enterprise, and Craig, you said, has 16 trucks throughout the city.
No, 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 no. He only had actually
Two trucks.
two trucks.
So,
All the other ones were Igor. So I think what they did was, and we never really got clarity on. I never actually asked on that actual part, but I believe that they maybe leased the trucks from them, and then they gave a portion back to the
okay.
Igor.
Okay. And so, Craig thinks that he's starting his own operation with these two trucks, and then hires you to help promote this new operation that he also plans to call Uncle Bud.
Well, it was to get him legal, right? So it was to
Okay.
take this illegal enterprise and then do a legal deal, and then we were going to market, promote, brand, and help him run the legal side. So that's why we invested in it.
Okay. So Igor's operation was legacy market illegal trucks.
Yeah.
Okay. So Craig's like, hey, we're going to go legit. We're going to have two trucks, and you guys are going to come on and give them exposure. So why not? Why was he so? I mean, was he just tied to the Uncle Bud brand? Because I feel like you could have done any of this just with a different name, and you would have been
He
okay.
he had a different name. It was Love Bud. It was a company he had already registered, and we after the fact, we're like, why didn't he just do all this under Love Bud? Because we could have done it with any brand name. I mean, we're good at what we do, clearly.
Yeah. Okay. So, and you said he's making a lot of money. I mean, with two trucks, was there more to the business than that, or how
Well,
much
he
do you
told
think?
us he had 16 trucks. So he told us he was making 700,000 a week, and we didn't realize that all that was bullshit until we actually got up here and living in the house and realizing that he only actually had access to two trucks, and then those got taken by the
So,
city. So
okay.
there
So
was
then,
no money when we got here. We found out there
right.
was no money. That's why we ended up having to launch the delivery service, and then we ended up doing some side projects at an Indian reservation for his processor that we never got paid on. It was like we made three different groups, like several $1 million over like a 6 to 9 month period, very very quickly.
Okay, so you sign on with the 2 trucks, and then you move up into his place. Where do you move from?
We moved from Gainesville, Florida to 119th Street in Harlem.
I mean,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
what convinced you that to make that move? Like, were you that confident in the venture?
Well, our business partners at the time, were well, more Chip was gung ho for it, um, and encouraged us. I mean, it's COVID. We're coming, out of COVID, right? So it was we had been wanting to move back to New York for years anyway. So it was an opportunity for us to get out of Gainesville, Florida. We've been wanting to get into the weed business, and the guy had a great story.
Yeah.
It was really going to be easy for us because having a great story in a city in a state that it was just getting legal, it was like, why not?
Oh yeah. I mean, you could see the dollar signs in your eyes, right?
Yeah.
Um. So then, when do you start working with the processor?
I'd have to look at the contracts. It was 2023, I believe, the end of 2023 is we connected them with Omnium, Canna. We put out a whole bunch of press releases. We did booths at CWCB. We got Howard, the CEO and owner of Omnium Canna, speaking engagements, wrote his speeches, presented Uncle Bud as the first black brand in New York State. And then Howard put his brand out first and then wanted a bunch of money to put the Uncle Bud brand out. He said he needed to be paid for everything up front. And Craig had no money and had spent the money we gave him. So he said he had a project out at the Shinnecock Reservation at 41 and 42 Montauk. And so we started marketing them, helped them build a delivery service that we were supposed to get a percentage of. And we did our part, and they just started buying cars and redoing their homes out there and never paid us. And then once we decided that we were not going to continue to work for free, that we were not able to take care of our, financial obligations at home for our parents and things like that, it was, we had to then start to say, hey, we need to get paid. And then that's when the gaslighting started.
So, so you're working for Uncle Bud. What was it? 41 Montauk.
41 Montauk Highway, 42 Montauk Highway, and we did all of Omnium Canna and their cannabis brands agency work. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the processor?
The processor, Howard, yeah, we were doing work for them too. Yeah. We
Okay.
got them in Newsday. I mean, everything that if you Google Omnium Canna, everything that comes up came from us. My name's at the bottom of most of the articles.
So how are you doing all this work and getting paid for none of it?
Because we were supposed to be owners, right?
Okay.
So
Okay.
a
So
lot
you're
of times
just,
when
it's
you're
like
doing
sweat equity.
a lot of time, yeah, you come on as an owner, we put money in and they're covering our living expenses. And we just kept kind of getting excuses here and there. But, you know, we're thinking our business partners are going to support us and help us. And, eventually we'll get the products on the shelves and we'll start to get our money back.
Yeah. So
Right.
when were the collective like 3 or 4 rugs pulled out from under you? Did it all happen at once, or
Yeah,
when did
yeah.
they kind of
Well,
phase you out?
well, we stopped doing the stuff for the Shinnecocks, and I actually took down their delivery service because I came up with the name, I built it, and we ran it, right? And we never made any money off of it, so I was easily able to just shut it down instead of continuing it or letting them continuing it.
Like
Uh,
shut down the website?
I shut it all down, changed
Oh, okay.
password, shut it all down, told them to fuck off. Uh,
Okay.
and sent them to collections and had the collection agencies start doing what they do.
Okay.
Uh,
So after that, how do you go about with Omnium Canna and Uncle Bud?
well, I shut Howard and Omnium Cannabis off because they were kind of the reasoning for us not getting paid at the Indian reservation. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just to control us, to keep us broke and control us and keep us working. I don't know. That would be a question for Howard Hoffman. on why he didn't want us to get paid out there. Um, yeah, I assume it was control because
Yeah.
he's that type. Seems to be that type anyway.
Well, and I just so then when do things continue to unravel with Howard and Craig? Like when does the relationship end there?
So, obviously that created some tension.
Hmm.
And our all the relationships started to unravel around that time, and that is when the cease and desist came,
Hmm.
right? So then it went from, not having, kind of not being on the same page to you're a fucking liar, and we want our money and we're staying here until you pay us.
Yeah.
And it went there really quick, very
Yeah.
quick.
And that
Um,
was they sent you a cease and desist.
well, it was sent to all, but we managed to see it.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because and in that cease and desist, which I sent to you, which they said I made up, they said I concocted that whole document, the whole everything. They said they have no idea who we are, that we didn't really do anything for them. I'm making all this up. And I squatted in his house, and we lived there for a year and a half with my husband, and we locked him out. He lived on the street, which none of that was true. He
This
actually
is
was
just
never our, he was never our, Craig Sut was never our roommate. We had keys. We lived there. We moved all of our stuff out. We actually helped him move all of his stuff out that he didn't have moved out when we moved there.
yeah.
And he had two other places to live. One, which was a place with his wife, who he lived with her until he beat her up and she divorced him. And then he had to move to his little one bedroom or his little studio apartment they had on 131st Street.
So I mean, I know these are a lot of wild claims. Did
Well, they're
so
not claims, they're truth, and I can say them truthfully and with uh stern because it's all true and it's all verifiable. So I'm not
um
worried about any lawsuits or defamation of character because it's all true.
okay. And so Igor sent the cease and desist, and they're saying that you orchestrated that by going back to Igor and
No, no,
making
no. I
him.
never went to Igor. Igor sent the cease and desist, and that's how we figured out that Igor actually was the actual owner.
Yeah.
Uh, the thing was is that if you read the cease and desist, uh, they basically said that they didn't do that agreement with us. Like that cease and desist is crazy all in itself.
Um. So how do you feel about prison reform in the cannabis industry?
I mean, we're still for it. It obviously still needs to change. I mean, we haven't changed anything since our beginning. We've been running our ship the same way for 16 years. I mean, we still post up stuff from Last Prisoner Project. We're still, vocal advocates for change in that realm. So
Well, and
we'll
is
support
part
them.
of it, you know, is part of it come down to just general business acumen? Is it just that Craig Sweat lacked that business acumen?
D, all of the above. It's character, acumen, everything. He's lacking
Okay.
it all. He's just a total scammer.
So where does everything stand now?
Well, we walked away from it and we stayed in this guy's apartment for a year and a half while we waited for him to start paying us back the money that he owed us. And we never got a penny. He continued to try to get the brand out, even though it wasn't his. And his lawyer, who I hired for him and brought her into the company, um, decides to start sending stuff out saying that I'm a drug addict. I was kicked out of the military for a mental disorder, that we produce ghost guns and have been threatening to kill them. They sent that to the Supreme Court of New York.
Do you do any of that?
No, no,
I feel like I at least have to follow up. Like, I mean,
no. No, I was
we're
put out of the military for they moved my ulnar nerve in my elbow and it caused some stuff in my hand and my arm and then I had some back injuries. But no, it was no mental. I don't take any medicine. I do smoke pot, but that's it.
what about the ghost gun manufacturing?
I think she just said that in that to them so that they would try to like squat come here with the kick our door in or something. Just
Oh, gotcha. Like try to send the ATF.
yeah.
Where are you at his are you at the apartment right now?
Oh no, no, no. So back to more back to that. So when we realized that he was totally full of shit, right? We had and we confronted him and we got him on audio recording saying we could stay in his place until he paid us back. Then started hustling. So we had a domain name called Silly Nice that we registered a long time ago, and we decided, well, we became a media partner for the Card Coalition. We've told all these dispensary people that own these dispensaries that were previously put in prison or in jail for weed. We've told most of their stories. We had all the packaging. We knew all the farmers. We knew all the processors. We were like, let's put out our own brand. And so we did. And we actually put it out last March. We moved out of his place, moved into this beautiful place in the middle of Harlem. It's two-story and they have a garden out back. And we have a top five bestseller in the state, concentrate. And we just moved our 40,000th product, and not even in our first full year. So our story is really kind of cool. You know, we went from being broke and destitute, and having my mom stuck in Florida with cancer and nobody to look after her, to moving her up here on the beach in a beautiful place. And we're doing it now.
What is
Everything
the
that we were going to do for him, we did it for ourselves with a brand that nobody knew anything about. We're in 100 dispensaries now.
what
Actually,
is the
132 actually.
132? What is the Card Coalition?
Card Coalition was all of the first licenses in the state of New York that were previously cannabis convictions. So that's who
Okay.
got the licenses first.
Okay. Um, so I mean, is there a part of you that just kind of wishes you went and did Silly Nice first?
So I'm like one of those people that just kind of think everything happens for a reason. So I kind of feel like that was our crash course to New York cannabis community and the industry, and we paid our dues and learned it the hard way. And so
Did you
I wouldn't change anything. I probably
you
would have.
wouldn't change anything?
No, I don't think I would change anything because I mean it was fun until the end.
Yeah.
It was fun until we found out it wasn't. Even the drama was kind of fun. Because the guy was a total idiot, but we were running everything, so it didn't really matter. The further we kept him away, we could get things done. But getting the cease and desist at the end and realizing that it wasn't his sucked. But I'm glad it happened. I wouldn't change anything because it led to us launching our own shit.
Did you suffer any reputational damage that hindered you at first when you tried getting Silly Nice off the ground?
Well, him and his lawyer are constantly going around to dispensaries telling everybody that we ruined his business. But I mean, the cease and desist letter says it's not his business and that he ripped us off. So, I mean, if people choose to believe his side, I mean, it's up to them. And the reason I sent that, I messaged you guys is because we got called the other day and Craig is trying to expand Uncle Bud to Maryland.
Mm,
And it's kind of funny because you only sold 40 units in 6 months in New York. How are you going to, under a brand that's not yours in a legal market? So how are you going to expand to another state when you haven't even conquered your home state? So, and it's funny because it's not yours. So how are you expanding someone else's business? So, I mean, I don't believe Igor really wants much to do with it because it's just kind of, negative at this point. And I don't want people to get ripped off.
mm.
He's using our work that we did to mislead people. He's using the Tribeca website, he's using Forbes, he's using Rolling Stone, and that's our work.
Yeah.
That's really our story telling his fake story. He was actually arrested for heroin, cocaine, and arson. And he wasn't in prison for 21 years for weed. So it's like the whole story was fake. So I feel some responsibility to investors and general public to educate that it's not his and that he is a scam artist. And I am working with the district attorney to pursue fraud and investment fraud and fraudulent misrepresentation, but they're a little slow over there. So
So, yeah, full disclosure, that's how we first started talking is you reached out to us as well as a bunch of other publications. Is
Mhm.
that what was part of that outreach, that you were just trying to spike any Uncle Bud related content?
Well, absolutely, but keep in mind we own a media outlet. So if you Google Craig Sweat or Uncle Bud, our information is right there at the top. So yeah, it's getting as many eyeballs. Obviously, our website doesn't hit everybody, right? So getting it in front of as many people as possible is our goal.
Gotcha.
Until he's back in prison and paying his restitution to us.
So what kind of, I mean, I understand that the legal or the judicial system runs very slowly, but what kind of legal recourse do you have?
Oh, I mean, he's committed fraud. He's committed investment fraud, and so when things started to go south, his lawyer was still gonna try to get us paid. This is before the cease and desist, right? This is when we confronted him that he was a total liar. His lawyer was still trying to get us paid, and we had been pressing them for paperwork that would show our percentages that we owned. And she didn't want to give us our percentages because we wouldn't sign a non-disparagement and a non-compete agreement after the fact. And so that that's what that's that.
So, and you made the introduction to the lawyer. How has your relationship changed, I guess, with that person?
I mean, we were introduced to her by another group that had used her that said good things about her, but um, we do not speak to each other. And she has, she's a, I don't think I should use the words on the podcast, but she's those words that I'm not going to use on the podcast. Her
That's
name's
fair. Let's
Leslie Schwartz. She's not a good person. She tried to have us evicted and made up a bunch of lies. She's the one that sent that thing to the Supreme Court saying that we had threatened to kill them. I actually wrote back to the Supreme Court and I said, since she's made all these things, are you going to force her to produce the evidence of any of it? And I've never heard back from them yet. But I'm going to be looping her into the fraud stuff too because she wouldn't pay us at all. And she said that she was closing the business down. And she said that she had dissolved Uncle Bud. And I asked her for the dissolved papers that had been sent to New York, and she said she didn't have to provide it to us to go get it from the state. Well, if you go to the state said there is no paperwork to dissolve it, and it's still active, Uncle Bud NYC LLC. So since then, they've actually put those products out on a few legal shelves in the state of New York and a few legal dispensaries. Um, so she didn't dissolve it. She stated that there was a $285,000 debt, and that was the reason that they were going to dissolve it. So she's committed fraud too.
So, is part of the effort to get out and name names and kind of stir things up just to make sure everything is reconciled in terms of what you're owed and damages be paid?
At the end of the day, I don't think I'll ever get a penny from either one of them.
Hmm.
I'll probably get if I was to take them to court, I would get a judgment, absolutely, because we have all the evidence that we would need to prove a case, right? But when we did the collections, he doesn't own anything. He doesn't have any bank accounts. He has no assets for us to seize. So, we would end up spending, $100,000 on a New York lawyer to get nothing. So I think for us, our strategy is a little bit different. I think it's probably going to be go the DA route and get fraud charges and then just have him pay restitution. Um, and that's more kind of like child support. You get out and you get a job and they take a little bit here or there and you don't pay it and blah, 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 which will probably end up being what happens. As far as Leslie, I don't know, it'd be in her best interest to just walk away and apologize. But she doesn't seem to be that type, clearly.
Well, in terms of just turning another page, things are going so well, it seems like with Silly Nice. Why not just walk away and leave it in the past?
Yeah, I mean that's a good thing to say, right? But at the end of the day, it's always going to be a part of our story, right? How did you get started in the cannabis industry? Well, unfortunately, he's the beginning of our story, right? If that hadn't happened, we wouldn't probably be in the cannabis industry right now. So, I could always omit it from the story, but then it wouldn't be authentic. We would
Yeah.
just be
Well,
transplants that showed up here in New York that started a business. We wouldn't have been on the streets of New York for a year and a half.
not omit it, but just, move on.
The
Like,
other
you know,
reason why we can't move on is because they're constantly going around slandering us. And
oh, I guess you did say that they're going like to dispensaries trying to
yeah,
tarnish your brand.
their story is that we ruined their brand. And it's not his brand, it's Igor's brand. So,
My goodness. Well, I mean, now that you're playing in the legal New York market,
mhm.
I mean, we've heard a lot of different things as to how things are evolving with that market. What is your take on the legal market in New York, current state of it?
I mean, any new industry and any new market is going to have its ups and downs. I think there's bad actors in this market, and I think there's good actors in this market, and I think eventually it's going to get sorted out, right? There's inversion things going on here from out-of-state weed being put in stuff, and there's just lots of MSO brands that are dominating. But at the end of the day, like people are going to like cheap weed, people are going to like good weed, people are going to like exotic weed, and they're going to buy what they want. And so I think it'll clean itself up eventually.
Okay. Very optimistic. Also, I like the idea that your story is ups and downs, wild ones, wild ups and downs. So now focusing on Silly Nice,
Mhm.
when it comes to SOPs, right? How do you determine cultivators that you're working with? What kind of brand are you? Are you a luxury brand? Tell us a little bit more about Silly Nice.
Silly Nice is well, first of all, we're a 501(c)(3), right? So we're um, social impact charitable brand. We are aligning ourselves with several different organizations to support until we build a program of our own.
Okay.
Our products are definitely premium, but priced for the people. That makes
Okay.
sense. All of our packaging is made out of hemp, recycled glass, and ocean plastic. Um, we don't cut corners. We partnered with a disabled veteran-owned processor here in New York State called Veterans Holdings, who we love. They're a small family-owned business that grew from the ground up and has some of the top brands in New York State under their wing, and we're one of them. Um, as far as our products, the flower quality, we're still waiting on the flower quality to get a little bit better before we start putting out flower here. We're almost there. So we've really focused on infused products and concentrates.
Okay.
Um, our top seller is a top five bestseller in the state, and it's diamond powder, which is THCA powder.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we have a flower that is live resin coated and rolled in diamond powder, which is really popular. We have some vapes. We have 2 gram vapes. We have 1 gram cartridges. We have frosted hash ball, which is a temple ball rolled in diamond powder so that they can easily squeeze it out into like a worm for hash holes. And we have some bubble hash that's doing really good. It's our second bestseller.
So, as a 501(c), does that mean your proceeds go to these charitable causes?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Not all of it, because we have operational costs and marketing costs and advertising costs, but we will be putting a large portion of our proceeds to charitable actions, which one of them is Hospitality Pathways. They train bud tenders from a lot of them are people that have come out of prison for cannabis. Some of them are from parts of town that are maybe not as have that many opportunities. And the other one is CJEI with Jeffrey Hoffman and Terrence Coffey. They kind of do the same thing, not just for bud tenders, but more for the industry, for the cannabis industry. And we also partnered with farmon.org, which is owned by a retired Celtics player. And they basically teach young children how to grow fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And they're based out in Copac, so they have a big, huge 300-acre farm where they grow.
Was was it a choice uh, to set up the company this way, or was it the easiest path towards a license?
No, we actually didn't have to get a license. Our processor has a license, so we did a joint partnership.
Okay. Okay.
So he's their
Um,
license. But we did want to do it this way because we have had we've had our charitable organization since 2014, and that was some of the best years of our lives when we were doing stuff. Our first big project was in Uganda. We did that for 5 years, and we wanted to get back doing stuff like that. So we figured that with a weed brand, if we can get it popular, it's going to be a big deal, and we'd be able to make a difference. The reason we partnered with other charities first wasn't by choice. We actually our first program we wanted to do was we wanted to start fitting people with hearing aids that needed hearing aids because my spouse's mom is hearing impaired, and it's something that's important for us. And we couldn't find any hearing aid manufacturer to work with us because the money would be coming from cannabis. So we had to kind of put that on pause and figure out, a different way to work first. So we're going to be starting off with these three individual organizations first while we develop a program of our own.
are you still doing PR?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. How many so of your businesses, is it just you and your partner, or do you have a staff?
Yeah, we have a staff. For Stupid Dope, we have an editorial staff. We have for Silly Nice, we have an agency that we work with. We're keeping, our Silly Nice very asset light, right? So we don't do, aren't building out a huge staff. Um, in our agency, it's basically us and our editors, and then we have social media and ad person that does that stuff. We've scaled back our agency a lot to just focusing on just a few customers and just ourselves.
Okay. What
Um,
is Stupid Dope?
Stupid Dope is a lifestyle and culture platform. We
Okay.
have mainstream distribution through Apple News and Google News, and we
Okay.
reach millions of people a year. It's pretty cool. It's allowed us to live a pretty nice life for the last 16 years.
Tell me a little bit about how it works. What is your editorial strategy, I guess?
Oh man, we cover everything. When we first started, it would be things like you'd miss a mortgage payment on, just cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it transformed into music, fashion, art, traveling, food. I mean, we literally write about anything, anything.
Okay.
This is what's next, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, we were with Complex Network for 5 years. We were with iOne Digital for 5 years. They managed our ads. But when COVID started, that industry started to tank, right? Because there was no ad money when COVID started. And so we had our agency, and we kept our stupid dope going, but we started doing more during COVID. We started working with U.S. manufacturers to get them into the supply chain. And because I'm a veteran, I'm pretty familiar with government contracting, so we started helping them get government contracts to sell
Okay.
things. So everything from COVID tests to masks to gowns. We worked with a lot of U.S. manufacturers to get that into hospital systems and stuff like that. So uh, the agency stuff we like, but now that we're in the cannabis stuff, we removed ads from Stupid Dope, so we don't have to worry about that anymore because that's a nightmare dealing
Yeah.
with and ad sales and ad networks and all that good stuff. So we've really transitioned just to mainly cannabis in our outlet, which will never stop.
Okay. I mean, that was going to be my follow up, is just like it seems like there are a lot of irons in the fire, and you have a lot of people like grasping at your irons at many different points of the day. So like, what does the future hold? What do you want to do? What would you like to focus on, as you move forward in your career?
Well, right now, I mean, I'm 45, so this we're we've got the career thing path going. Silly Nice is doing very well. We're going to continue to grow it in this state, and when the time's right, we'll move to other states. Um, I don't really think 10 years off or anything like that. I focus on now. So right now we're growing as big as possible, and we got our foot on the pedal as far down as it'll go. We're not stopping.
Other than just trash talking and trying to tarnish your brand, do you have any other fears of reprisal?
No, no,
No. Okay. Okay. I mean, you sleep well at night?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I mean, do you foresee a time when you can just kind of, it's all in the past and you just focus on silly nice and, it's just a crazy story that you can tell at parties?
Um, for Craig Sweat, yeah, when I get that fraud charge and I start getting my restitution, I'll be good with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
uh,
like there's a lot that we went through. We ate beans and rice for 6 months straight
mhm.
after that happened because we had no money, right? We had a roof over our head, but we had no money. Couldn't travel to take care of my mother. My mother suffered in Florida. She had literally less than a year left to live, and we were worried about getting down to see her and figuring out what we were going to do with her. And all of that fueled our hustle. We were able to get her out, get her into immunotherapy, get her cancer knocked out 95%. And so, we're just gonna keep trucking. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that we went through, a lot of gaslighting. Um, I mean, we had our lives threatened. It was
Yeah.
intense.
Well,
So,
what's the gaslighting?
oh, just nonstop. Uh, how many hold on, LeVar. What would be something that you would consider gaslighting from them? Yeah, the biggest one would be calling us emotional when we ask to be paid. You're
You're
crazy.
being emotional?
I'm emotional because I want my money, or because I need to pay my phone bill. I need to pay my mom's car bill, or things like that. Like still
Okay.
right now, it's hard for us to get over it because our credit is ruined. My credit is ruined. My spouse's credit's ruined. My mom's credit is ruined.
Yeah.
All because of this guy's actions. And it is hard to get over. And I won't get over and be over it fully until justice has been served.
No, I certainly understand the journey of building back your credit. So, uh, best luck with that one. But I will say, as you do have, let's say successful enterprises, it seems like that builds back quicker than it does for some others.
Not really. Like for example, just for me to get moved into this place, we had to spend almost $20,000 to get moved in. Just to get my mom moved into her place out in where she lives out on the beach. Um, it was again almost $30,000 to get her moved into her place.
Is
I
it,
can't
you mean
I
like
can't
pay?
because you have to pay first last security deposit, and then because of the credit being an issue, you got to pay like multiple months
Okay.
into a CD that sits there that they pull. I mean, it's crazy. Like I can't buy a car right now. Even though we make over six figures a month, I can't buy a car right now unless I go pay cash for it. I can't lease a car. Um, my car insurance is higher because my credit is not good. So I mean, it's like the gift that keeps giving, from this guy. So it is kind of hard to get over, and it's hard to get over it when you go into a dispensary to talk about how great your brand's doing in the store, and they're like, "Oh, Craig Sweat came in the other way. They were talking about how you messed it." It's like it's hard to get over when it keeps getting brought up. So for me, and the way my head works, I'll be mentally satisfied when he's charged and not able to continue to rip people off. I didn't know this, and nobody else really knows this, but there's another victim that was taken for $200,000 by Craig. His name is Javon. He was before us. He's a 50% owner. We're a 50% owner. So how's this guy out giving out other percentages of the company that he doesn't even own? That
What happened to Javon?
uh Javon does construction and has a construction business. So, I mean, he had another business and he was able to recover, but
Okay.
he also trusted and invested in Craig. So
Okay.
there's no telling how many other victims. Like when this story starts really getting out, I wouldn't be surprised if there's many victims.
Do the dispensary owners kind of see through the let's say talking negatively about competitors?
I think they do. Yeah, I think they do. I mean, we don't talk about this guy. We don't bring this guy up when we're talking to dispensaries unless he's brought up, and then we have to defend ourselves. So it's not like we walk in and go, "Hey, we got ripped off." You know, it's most of these dispensaries are actually coming to us, and it's because our brand sells, and it's because we're a top seller, and it's because they know that we're good people, and they see that we're really good at our marketing, and they know what we did for the Card Coalition and told all their stories before they even opened up. So, I I don't think that had anything to do with it.
Well, and I mean, as a result of the story, we really haven't been able to talk a lot about what you guys are really good at, which is the marketing. So I know that we don't have a lot of time now, but could you tell our audience, some of the things that really work when it comes to marketing your brand and trying to find a foothold in the industry?
I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to consumer packaged goods, right? If you have a good story and you have good product, it's usually a good combination, right? Word of mouth will do its thing after that.
Okay. So I mean, I guess, can you just chalk all this up as like all PR is good PR?
Yeah, it is. All PR is good PR. I mean, our story is an open book. I mean, I've put it all out on the internet for people to read. Like, I don't have anything to hide. So people make up their minds. But you can't really if you read that cease and desist, I mean, I don't know how you could come up with any other conclusion than the guy's a fraud. So
Yeah. No, and for people that do kind of want to follow the story with you online, where's a good place for everyone to go?
I mean, they could go to Stupid Dope. I publish everything right there.
Okay. Well, Shane, I really do appreciate you taking the time today and sharing your story. Before we get out of here, is there anything else that we left out or anything in particular you want to make sure the Cannabis Equipment News audience knows about you or Silly Nice?
I think I've covered it. My only advice to them is pay your bills on time, right? And don't run up bills that you can't pay, and don't defraud people so that we don't have to come on here and call you out.
I don't know. I think that's a real hot take. Don't defraud people. That's oh man, that's a sad reality that you got to say that, huh?
Yeah.
Well, Shane, thank you again for taking the time. It has been truly, I'll say, unexpected.
Appreciate you, David. Thanks for having me.
Well, before we get out of here, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. You could also help us out a lot by leaving the podcast a positive review on whatever platform you use. If you want to email the podcast, you can reach me at david@cannabisequipmentnews.com. Email the podcast in the subject line. You could also subscribe to our daily newsletter. Make sure you get it delivered to your inbox first. For Shane Breen, CEO of Silly Nice, I'm David Manti. This is the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast, and we will see you next week.
Welcome to the Cannabis Equipment News Podcast.